Anti-Afro Svengalis. I absolutely love that tune. Sing that song, Melanie. Sing that song. Lay down with the Edwin Hawkins singers. Now, listen, people. There's one thing that I have for sure modeled for you. I do my homework. I keep track of things. I cover my bases. Now, there is absolutely no human being on this planet that can be so smooth with every move you make. But there are definitely some things I stay on top of. The legalities of the anti fraud warriors. You need not worry about what a fraud is doing because a fraud will have to answer to the law. It makes no difference what claims people make, how loud they scream and holler, how many people they can get to go along with them. It's irrelevant. What's relevant is what you can prove. The legalities. Keep that in mind. Legalities. Prove it in a court of law. Write whatever you want. When it comes down to it, what can you prove? And when you're talking about a civil case, by a preponderance of the evidence. And what I have is unequivocal evidence. Don't concern yourselves. Don't give it any attention because that's exactly what frauds need to keep going. They want you to give them attention. But if you notice, they're the ones that keep mentioning your name. They keep putting you in their titles. They keep making up lies about you because they want to continue to fuel the madness that they're wrapped in. Now, another model I have shown, I primarily stay away from these live streams. 98% of the time, I never even visit them. I don't engage them. I don't have discussions. I don't know the people. I've never held conversations. And those who I have spoken to, there are very few people that know much about me personally. That's by design. I don't need to come to the internet to sit on a panel, and it's your business if you want to. It is your business if you want to come to YouTube or social media and tell every nook and cranny of your personal business. I don't have a need to do that. I have plenty of family and friends and a support system that I can go to if I need anything. And I definitely don't want to dump on the fact that there are people out there that benefit from coming onto social media and sharing information. I don't want to crap on that. I don't. But there are spaces where that is treacherous, where you should never go and share your personal business. And you know, we are very much aware of spaces in this YouTube streets where that would never be recommended. Again, I don't want to discount any space out there on YouTube where people have found a niche, they have bonded, they have supported each other. But let me tell you, coming onto social media in these particular YouTube streets and telling your personal business and giving information out that you don't want people to have, this would be the last place. Now, if you have been lucky, like I have, you have made sound decisions when it came to trusting people. Now, let me make it clear when it says trust. What information have you given people? People can try to perceive and present a picture any way they want. The bottom line is, what information did you give them about you? Did you give them any information that can destroy you, that can bring you down? And for me, the answer is no. Why would I give somebody information that would, quote, bring me down if I was warned and practically cussed out because this person self invited and just started calling herself anti fraud warriors and was given, like, okay, let's see what happens. I'm going to turn around and tell a person my deepest, darkest secrets. Now, that person might think, oh, anti Afros Bengalis told me this. The person may think they have information. They don't have any information that compromised any person's privacy at all. So you need not worry about that. I know Dempsey Spears came on the other day was saying, I have all the anti-fraud warrior emails. Sure. Yeah. He loves to act like he's important. He loves to. You need not worry about any of that. People love to tell lies. We have thousands of emails that we have exchanged over nearly 8 years. And to this day, none that are sensitive have hit the airwaves where we all appear on the chain. They have not appeared. And they will never appear. It doesn't matter what eventually happens to whatever relationship. We chose properly. The people that were chosen to be trustworthy were trustworthy. From the very start, the people that have been with anti fraud warriors remain from the very start. So there has been no change. People can have whatever perception they want. Things haven't changed. Now, what has changed is this bone carrying syndrome. This bone carrying syndrome has gotten out of control. And it is very hazardous to the people who've decided to carry these bones. What am I referring to? There's been a whole discussion, this whole controversy about Rev G and this new car that he bought from legal defense funds. Let me tell you, people, because I know there are people out there who genuinely are interested, who genuinely want to know. So I'm going to tell you what happened. And it has to do with bone carrying. It has to do with people who are so enamored and taken in by what they see that they have agreed to carry bones because they want to slide up to the hottest new channel, the hottest new platform. So they're carrying bones to these platforms. Look what I have. Here, see, I have this information. People, based on how these people are crafting their words, we know exactly where the information came from. This bone carrying syndrome is only going to hurt the bone carrier. And let me explain about these donations. When Rev G was doing what he has done for ever and a day, trying to make sure Umar Johnson doesn't further damage our people, he just so happened to attract the attention, me and others as well, but I'm focusing on Rev G, of those who didn't give a damn about Umar Johnson or the school. They just had the same traits as Umar Johnson, and that's what attracted them. So they embarked upon this pattern of harassments and threats and doxing, all documented, people, just continuously, on and on. They looked for a way to break Rev G. They tried their hardest, and he continued to do what he does. Ultimately, they located his wife, has absolutely nothing to do with anything, and doxed her. Put her photo online, all these things. Meanwhile, you have all these rumors going around, these lies, I should say, picking out heterosexual men who are married, happily married, with families, and creating these wild gay sex stories. I mean, it got to the point where photos were passing around saying this is so and so's anus. People, it got really just bizarre. And I don't care about what TCTV says or who he says he's reconciled with. He was behind it all. He was front and center. So him coming up here and saying things like, I never said that Rev G was gay. I never said Lennon was gay. Listen, He may have been pissed when his channel was taken down, but now he's happy because he thinks none of that information can be accessed. He was all up in it. It's not about saying somebody is gay, it's about graphic discussions. When you were saying that somebody is involved with an organization that seeks to eradicate the age of consent laws, NAMBLA, claiming that Rev G was a part of this organization, discussing graphic sexual acts. I mean, it got so bad to sit there and hear grown men with a female, Tiffany Griffin, there talking about sexual acts and making up all these. It just got so beyond ridiculous. He was all up in this. TCTV. I'm not mentioning two other people's names for legal reasons. I'm not even going to mention their names. They were involved. Dumpsy Spears was involved. I'm mentioning his name. You're damn right I am. They were there. They participated. So what Rev G decided to do, he decided to take legal action. He put together a legal defense fund, and I believe it was $2,300 he was able to collect. And the goal was to file a lawsuit. He went and he had a rather extensive consultation. It wasn't just your standard consultation. He paid money for the consultation. And while this was going on, the harassment continued to a level you wouldn't even imagine. So, what Rev G sought to do, where would I get more success? With the civil case or is any other option? He sought an immediate relief because people had attacked his wife. At one point, someone even called his wife on the phone. She has nothing to do with the situation. So Rev G decided to pursue a restraining order. So here's the quandary that comes in. Most states have what you call a civil harassment restraining order, which means a person has not threatened you with violence and you're not in a domestic violence relationship, or the person has threatened you with violence. But what I'm taking off the table is civil harassment when there is no violence involved or threats of violence. Most states have that. If somebody sends you thousands of emails, like the situation with Bernice and the only one, Me Three and Mines, most states have a civil restraining order where there's no history of a like romantic or DV relationship, or you were never living together, you don't share children together, someone is relentlessly harassing someone, you can file a restraining order under civil harassment, non-domestic violence. However, Missouri does not have a civil restraining order unless violence has been threatened or perpetrated. So that's where the roadblock hit. However, there was a turn of events. People continued. One particular person continued on, would not stop, continued on, to the point where he started posting reviews on not only Rev G's class website, his wife's business. And prior to that time, another person had posted fake reviews on Rev G's wife's business. Never received any services from her. So they posted those fake reviews on her site, posted those fake reviews on Rev G's, Rate My Professor site, and it kept going. That wasn't good enough. They wanted to get a rise out of Rev G. They wanted him just to completely lose it. They weren't getting the reaction that they wanted. So they kept going until finally somebody started posting in big, bold letters several messages on his employer's website saying Rev G was sexually abusing students. They posted information on Rev G's classroom evaluation site saying that he had sexually abused, I think, 7 males. And all these complaints that people have sent in, quote unquote, involve sexual abuse, sexual exploitation. It's never that Rev G yelled at me. It's never that Rev G lost my paper. It's never that Rev G stole money from me. It's always about sexual abuse. So this person continued and continued and continued, posted this on, I think, the Twitter and the Facebook, posted it on YouTube. And there was one cycle of a small investigation, because if someone accuses someone at a college of being sexually exploiting students, obviously you have to look into that. That was quickly put down. The person continued to the point where law enforcement got involved, because in Missouri, this behavior, if it's persistent enough and it's not reciprocal, when I say not reciprocal, if they have been going back and forth, like back tit for tat, you say this to me, I say that to you, you say it to me, I post on your employer's website, you post on mine. If this is constantly exchanging, then you don't have harassment. You have mutual angst or combat, whatever you want to call it. That wasn't the case. This was one-sided. So Rev G's college swung into action because they were publicly posting this on Twitter, on I think Facebook. So there were several interventions with law enforcement, and the FBI is involved in this case. That's how serious this got, people. The money, what happened to the money? Yeah. Rev G used those funds. Since he could not get a restraining order, a civil suit was going to be long and drawn out. He utilized those funds to get those reviews taken down. Attorney had to get involved and contact Google, and the process was by no means overnight. And he didn't even get all of the reviews down. So if you think hiring a lawyer to intervene on your behalf to get derogatory, fake, false reviews down is free, come tell me when you find a free attorney to do that for you. Rev G used the funds primarily to get those reviews down after he abandoned the civil case. You're not obligated to move forward with the civil case. It was not necessary in the end because the criminal case came forward. Ultimately, one of the people came because all the reviews weren't even down. Some other person came forward, okay, I'm going to take these down. But that person came forward because the feds were involved and there's something else going on. Okay, take them down. But that person didn't take them down because the person had a good heart and they just wanted to, make things right. The funds went to help get the derogatory false reviews down. So all of a sudden you have people, and this is very strange, 40-something-year-olds, 50-something-year-olds carrying bones to these platforms claiming to have new information about Rev G and a new car. My question is, what will these people say when a civil suit is filed in court and they have to go and stand in a courtroom in front of a judge and explain their actions, their slanderous actions, when they came on with all this confidence saying Rev G stole money and used it to purchase a new car? These are bones that are being carried because there are people who cannot come onto the public stage and say anything about Rev G without risking arrest, because this case is before the district attorney right now. It's being reviewed. Now, it would be nice if there was just one case in Rev G City and this case can just simply be put to the top of the list, but apparently more investigation is ongoing. So bones are being carried when all of a sudden this new story, quote unquote, is being floated, that Rev G bought a new car. The people who are saying this to the older people or individual cannot come on YouTube, cannot come on a public forum and state that themselves without risk of arrest. Witness intimidation, witness tampering. I happen to be a witness in that case. My situation involving Rev G's case is one thing. There was a whole separate incident with me that got the threats against me to stop. It took law enforcement intervention, and it didn't take just one phone call. So Rev G couldn't use the restraining order, but criminal harassment, there wasn't a single threat of violence associated with that individual that is facing the criminal charges. There was someone else who was taunting Rev G, and that person was investigated because he kept saying he was going to come out to Kansas City. So that person, I guess, is being monitored. This is not fun and games. People who set out to simply report and target a situation for rectifying were set upon and attacked. That's what happened. Rev G didn't commit any crimes. He went under investigation. His social media accounts were scoured. His electronic devices were scoured. And it was verified. This was not a back and forth. This was uncontested harassment, criminal harassment. Now, Rev G going onto a platform and trying to defend himself is another situation. That's not going back and forth. That's coming on and saying, like he did to TCTV, what are you talking about? You have an email that I communicated with NAMBLA. TCTV got online and said it. That's a freaking lie, people. And Rev G got on and confronted him. Show the email, post the email. Of course, the email never came. So carrying bones, people who are enamored by the new channel, the new king, the Midas touch, they're trying to slide up to a certain individual that people are trying to slide up to. Always the first on this person's board. Males and females clamoring to get next to this person, carrying lies, carrying bones, saying things like, I was responsible for revealing someone's identity. Bullshit. Prove your point. The fact of the matter is the things that people were trying to claim about Rev G never materialized in that investigation. So you think that Rev G is so smart as to evade the local police department and the FBI who have subpoenas to go through all of his social media accounts, all of his electronic history. They don't take information from you alone. They may take information from you, but then they're going to go submit to the court a subpoena so they can look for their own information in their own way because people doctor information. They don't just accept your information. There was nothing. And so those criminal charges or that criminal case moved forward. That is what happened with Rev G's donations. So the bone carriers are putting themselves in a position to be caught up in a legal situation because they're simply repeating. They're simply doing what that individual did and ended up facing criminal charges pending. The police investigated, uniformed officers came out, detectives came out. People, it is not a pretty sight. So if you want to bone carry because you're enamored, you are being used. And I've never seen, ever, so many so-called older people working and being manipulated by 20-something-year-olds, carrying bones for 20-something-year-olds who aren't telling you anything about what's really happening. Well, you shouldn't be carrying bones. What is going to happen when you find yourself standing in front of a judge in a civil case and you can't prove what you declared that Rev G bought a new car? What are you going to do when you find yourself with a subpoena to present yourself in criminal court because you joined in on the harassment? Think, people. Do not become enamored because what you end up doing is becoming a deer in the headlights, as you see. The truth, let me tell you, people, unfortunately, the truth is boring. People don't want the truth. They want something else. The truth is too damn boring. The facts are too boring, so people have to make things up. What could never, ever be made up is the absolute critical, essential importance that you heed the warning. Buyer beware.